the most free form of storytelling, which is animation, because the world is your limit.
Yeah.
Right? Animation mein you can do anything, and much easier with quotation marks to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's just the most amount of freedom it gives is the hardest industry to actually break through, and is the hardest form of creating content. Right? Animation is by far the hardest way to tell stories. But with this technology now, it's just gonna become 10x easier. Welcome everybody to another episode of FBF, Fame by Frame. I have a very special guest with me. It's Sagar Amrut. Wow. Sagar, you want to introduce yourself?
I started out writing scripts for AV around last year. And then later, when ChatGPT came out, I kind of pivoted to video editing. And because I realized text content is becoming easier to write, and Varun and Achina would rather write their own scripts with their own personality and with their own taste than delegate it to someone else. So from there, I pivoted to video editing because like even when it comes to video, there's like how many 600 million, 800 million people consuming video content, and video editing is what sets apart on the internet. Like that's what the moat is for good content.
Yeah. I remember talking to my friends, Sandebi, Rishu, Jay. These guys are blowing up now. But when we were super tiny, had a super small community, and bunch other, I used to talk to Ashish, Chanchalani, and all these guys, and I used to like हम लोग का conversation जो रहता था, we used to always talk about कि अगर आप अच्छे editor हो, if you're a good editor, the likelihood of you becoming a good YouTuber is very easy. अगर आपको editing आ गई, तो आपने 90% गेम जीत लिया है, क्योंकि उस समय पे उस टाइम पे I mean still उस टाइम पे I remember Ashish used to tell me, like I used to always asking like, भाई Ashish, why are you still editing your videos? Because till this day
still edit
he still edits it. He has like he has a good studio and all. He has a वो बड़ा वाला Mac कौन सा रहता है वो
Mac Studio.
The Mac Studio, yeah. He has that and everything, and he edits and he's good at it as well.
That's crazy.
But he still edits, and he's like, the reason back then when I was talking to him, I don't know if he still does it, but I'm fairly positive he does. He was like, the problem that I face with finding editors is there's no good editor. And anybody who's good editor knows that they can create content, so they start going for it, or they just move to Bollywood. But luckily, अब game काफी बदल चुका है.
Yeah, because now YouTube is kind of like taking over Bollywood. Like in terms of influencers, there's only like top Shah Rukh Khan.
I don't think SRK के बाद कोई है.
Yeah, there's only top people, and then there's like influencers who are kind of taking over the entire Bollywood industry. Because
I think they might take over. I don't know. I don't think right now it's happening. I'll tell you the thinking behind it. I think you can compare the foreign influencers in terms of the same like Bollywood's level celebrity. I don't think you can count Indian influencers, although I'm not sure. I think there are very few Indian influencers or Indian YouTubers who started as content first and now can be considered on the same Bollywood level. Like physics wala, in my personal opinion, can be considered celebrity.
Yeah, it's like top 0.1% celebrity. You can consider Tanmay Bhatt as like top 0.1%. Even if they stop making content, they're still relevant, is what I'm saying. So is it the same thing with like Bollywood celebrity? Like even Shah Rukh Khan stops making a movie, he's still relevant 6 years down the line. So there's only top of the funnel people in Bollywood, and then there's influencers.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. If you're like a B-list or C-list or D-list celebrity, it's much better for you to exist on YouTube than to go down the road of becoming a Big Boss contestant.
Yeah, it's also because how the algorithm is, right? For example, no one wants to spend time watching a 2-hour movie nowadays. Like it's how the content has shifted. Like I don't know, because right now today I don't think I would go and watch a 2-hour movie unless and until it's Shah Rukh Khan's movie or some big celebrity's movie from Tollywood. I would rather watch scroll Instagram at my home, I think. So that's why this is how it is going to be in the future.
Yeah, I remember I have a very old podcast where I used to always talk about it, and I couldn't really understand, but I had like this semi-thesis where everything is just becoming more and more concentrated. So now it's like it's only the top people will be will be able to really sell. That is what I think will happen, but I doubt it will happen. Like I don't wish for it to happen. Because I still want, like, for example, what I'm very excited about. And by the way, guys, we will go down the route of this tangent for a while, and then we will talk about a very new video we did about anime. But what used to happen back in the day was what I think I wish for it to happen is now that AI tools are here, it's gonna become much easier for us to create content, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we did a entire anime video,
Yeah.
which was incredibly next to impossible just I think a year ago. Now we are
absolutely.
very close. Like
Yeah.
we are very close. It used to take what? 1 crore, 1.5 crore, $150,000 to be able to create an episode of anime, which is like, let's say 20-ish minutes long.
Yeah.
Because considering ads,
1 crore plus there's like 100 people working on like different things.
Yeah.
For example, if you look at the anime industry, like for example, a company which is making an anime, there's like people doing backgrounds for the anime part. There are people drawing. There's people for sound design department. There's people making music. There's people voice actors, conceptualization. There's also a director doing. So now this democratized into only like 2-3 people. Like how many? 5 people?
yeah, we were able to do it with 5 people.
Yeah, it's 5. There's
5 people who did not know anime. Like everybody who worked on anime, apart from me and Varun,
Yeah.
like you don't watch anime. You were able to figure
I just
out.
watched like Naruto, like the mainstream ones. I'm not
To
like
just get the idea
Yeah,
of the game.
Yeah.
Like everybody else did not know anime.
Yeah.
It was just me and Varun who understood the anime, and we were able to. I think it's cringe. Like I wanna put it out there. We don't believe that we are competing with Naruto in terms of storyline, in terms of anime, in terms of action.
Yeah, it also like it was like 1 day of thinking about, not even 1 day.
Yeah,
like 1 hour of thinking of the story where Varun got us into a room.
Yeah.
He asked us to think about an idea. I think Varun just prompted ChatGPT and with your idea as a baseline, and we just came up with the script.
Yeah. So the way
just to experiment.
Yeah. So the way it worked was Varun brings us into a room and he's like, listen, let's make an anime. You come up with a story. And that's how Varun is. For some reason, it's always like, give me the entire thing within the next 5 minutes. And we did come up within 5 minutes. Which, and if you were to think about it, like for an hour of effort in terms of storyline, thanks to ChatGPT,
Yeah.
it was pretty good.
Yeah. It
Like
was.
what did we prompt it? Like give us a editing battle kind of thing, and it was able to come up with a semi-decent. Like it's cringe. Nobody's denying that it's fairly cringe and it's fairly basic, but 1 hour of effort.
Yeah, not even 1 hour. Few minutes of thinking
Yeah.
of the idea. And I think we did not even storyboard that.
Yeah.
Like basically, like if you like, I would like for you to explain how the pre-production process works in the beginning stages.
Yeah.
Like how it actually happens. We did not follow anything at all. We just went. We just decided this is the story.
Yeah.
And you took bunch of inspiration from JoJo, etc.
Yeah.
And then we just rolled to a green screen studio and we shot everything within 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I want you to explain how actually an anime studio does it.
Yeah. So I'll, instead of going into super deep, I'll just, for the people who are watching, I'll give it you in a very simple manner. Okay. Understand this. Okay. Somebody will write a script. Script then will be done into, what's it called? Screenplay. Screenplay will have scenes. Scenes will have shots. Shots will have then angles. Okay. That's how it's divided. So for example, if I'm talking, this will be one angle. So if this is a scene, okay, we have scene 1. First narrative has been written, script has been written, then screenplay comes in, right? Screenplay pe, there's gonna be a scene. This is one of the scenes. Now, for example, we want angles, then we will have 3 cameras in different ways. Mm-hmm. And those angles cannot like, for example, you cannot just keep 3 cameras at one point.
So it's like...
Because the cameras cannot be visible. So for example, if a camera is here, you cannot just keep 3 cameras and just like go with it and like we do it in podcast. You have to take it separately. For example, imagine there's a camera here and then there's a camera here, but this camera can capture this camera. Correct?
Okay, yeah.
So you cannot place the camera here. So you have to reenact the entire scene again for a different angle.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how it operates. And that's why like storyboarding comes into place and angles come, and it's a whole lot of things. People don't realize when you watch a movie, there's like some kind of a rule where they usually put like a cut every X amount of seconds, depending upon the pace. And every X second, the camera is going to shift.
Yeah.
And if the camera shifts, that means you have to take the entire scene once again for a different angle.
Yeah.
So whatever we talked about, if this was a scene, whatever we just talked about, we had to redo it for this angle. Then we have to redo it for that angle. Now, obviously, people have gotten much smarter and are able to place cameras in a different angle, but it's a whole less process. Thanks to recent time, like For example, there's a much higher refresh rate virtual production that MKBHD made a video on that allows you to take like there's something called a single take where you just go ahead, you take it, right? What that production house allows you to do is it'll place 3 cameras and each camera will have a different refresh rate. Therefore, the screen will be refreshing at a different rate and the capture it'll be able to capture in one go 3 different angles with 3 different backgrounds. So technology obviously crunching it down, but traditionally it used to take incredible amount of time to just shoot anything. Now it has just gotten 10 times easier. And now we obviously, when we were doing anime, we were just able to do it like much faster because...
Yeah, it was also, we did not plan it well.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
We were like you were the director and Varun, and you guys were spitballing and thinking directly in the studio.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, probably if we would have planned it very well.
Yeah,
because I still think the storyboarding part is still crucial. Storyboarding and having a good storyline and planning that, because I was watching the Corridor Crew breakdown and they had like probably 500-600 shots already planned before they shot. And also one more thing I observed when Corridor Crew were doing their anime, they already recorded their voiceover before they went and shot the footage in the green screen studio. And which also we did a mistake of not doing that.
Yeah, we did.
That's why there was audio issues.
Yeah, they were smart with it because they were able to kind of change the game where they recorded it pre-hand, because they were able to, I think, troubleshoot a lot. We went the traditional route where we did semi-animations first and then did the voiceover, which is how everybody used to do back in the day. Corridor Crew playing with technology and creating anime is actually a very prime example of what I was talking about, concentration. Corridor Crew already had incredible amount of talent. Talent, I mean resources. They had the skills, they had the talent. And because they were enabled by the technology, they were just able to really put in incredible amount of effort. Now imagine somebody who does it for a living on an everyday basis and is obsessed with it. How easier is it gonna become for you to be? Like, for example, now people, like I'm very excited. I don't know if you know this, but in anime, to cut budgets, everything cannot be hand drawn. Like complex shots, if you're going for extreme complex shots, for example, in Attack on Titan, a lot of like the big shots where, you know, the big Titan is there. All of that is CGI. So they pretty much get a 3D model, they make it move and stuff like that. The reason they do it is because it's incredibly cost efficient. But imagine with AI technology, somebody who keeps on playing with it, the CGI, I think it's gonna become even cheaper to be able to do anime. Which makes me very excited because this happens in like I'm a big nerd when it comes to big weeb, right? I read all sorts of light novels, all sorts of manga, manhwa. I have like a
library of
I have a library. He lives with me, so he knows I have a library of just manga. Like I have all sorts of manga in my house. So what happens in like what is Sai happening, and it's Sai really bringing out community aspect of this was people started creating their own mangas, right? And they were like terrible mangas. One of the really popular ones right now is One Punch Man. You've read it. I've gifted it to you.
One.
It's the art style is really good. But the first one, the actual One Punch manga, which was known as a web comic, had horrible art style. It was really bad. But that became incredibly popular, which is what I'm very excited by. And that like it resulted into this community of people just creating webcomics left, right and center, and like content consumption really skyrocketing in terms of, and people creating content really started skyrocketing. And that's what really excites me with AI coming into place and what you speak of democratization of content.
Yeah, because like even when you spoke about how drawing being like very inefficient, like if you don't know this fact, even the best artist, like the Ghibli, there's an artist called Miyazaki. He's like the best in terms of anime. He owns, I think, Ghibli Studios, and he's the best in the game. And he could only draw like 5 minutes of anime every week. And even the normal anime studios, even when they draw it, like for example, there's one frame and they draw another frame. They cut the amount of frames that needs to be drawn. So when you look at the final result, it's like sometimes the normal animes, not the best ones, sometimes they have a kind of PowerPoint kind of feel. For example, when you go
Correct,
from
correct.
frame 1 to frame 5, there's like they add kind of a motion blur in it, and it kind of feels like PowerPoint. So AI coming into play,
That can be solved.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah. I'm very excited to see what the community, when this becomes even more. Right now, one of the biggest problem that you and I are both aware of. Well, when Corridor Crew, actually, you know what? Explain the entire Corridor Crew process and how they did it and how it became easier for us to do. Like why we were able to do it at a much faster rate.
Yeah. So Corridor Crew, initially, they were experimenting with something called diffusion models. What diffusion models are basically like they take an image, you take an image and it adds some noise to it and it tries to recreate it. So that's how stable diffusion works. And then what Corridor Crew did was if you try to recreate something from noise, so it often fucks up the image and there's like always some random things happening. So you can't get consistent frames throughout if you want to make an anime. So what Corridor Crew did was it trained all of their faces, all different art styles on something called Dream Booth. So Dream Booth guides stable diffusion on specific art style. For example, what stable diffusion was trained on was 5 billion pictures. So they won't have Corridor Crew's pictures. So they had to train it on Dream Booth. So that when it creates noise, it recreates something specific to what they want.
Correct.
So, but for training Dream Booth, it took them like 36 gigs of VRAM. And when I was listening to their breakdown, I think they were literally had like 6-7 machines, and they were running each of these experiments on 6-7 machines, and it took them probably like 1 month of just experimentation and just to get a right output. And they were playing with images, and that's one of the reasons if you see their anime, they still, even though they solved flickering to a huge extent, which props to them, but there's still kind of feel you get when you watch them. There's still some inconsistencies in the frames.
Sahi hai.
And when it comes to AI, there's new thing coming out like literally every day. Like every week there's something new coming out. Even when they made the second anime, the process was completely something different.
Correct.
They used something called warp fusion. Even that had some inconsistencies.
I think in mere personal opinion, the first anime, the rock paper scissors one they did, the quality was 10x better than the second one.
Because the first one they used an existing anime's art style and trained it on that.
Correct.
And in the second one they had to make their own illustrations. They had to hire some art director because they got belted on the first one because people called out saying you're stealing art.
Acha, interesting.
So for the second one, they used something called warp fusion. Even warp fusion kind of used the same process of adding noise to an existing image and was trying to recreate it. I don't want to go in depth into the process. You can watch their video. But what we discovered was there's something called Animate Diff, which came out. So Animate Diff is basically a text to image video generation model. So it takes, for example, there's already a text to image model. For example, Stable Diffusion.
Right.
So Stable Diffusion can already generate text to image, but it's not good at generating videos.
Correct.
So what Animate Diff did, it trained bunch of videos. There's something called Web Video 10 million data set, which consists of all the videos on the internet, most of the videos, not all. And it trained a diffusion model on that. And through that, even though our process was similar to adding noise to an image and recreating it in anime style, since Animate Diff already was trained on bunch of videos, it was able to guide each number of frames through already existing data set of video. So I'll break it down more simply. For example, what Corridor Crew was doing basically, it was breaking down each number of sequences, like frames, like a sequence into frames.
Got it.
And recreating every image. Ours wasn't, even though we were doing that, since Animate Diff was already trained on a video model, it was easier and more consistent.
Yeah, proper. Like our content was a lot more, like our flicker was
there was I don't think we had any flicker.
I mean, there was flicker in some shots.
We did not have flicker. That was not flicker. That was inconsistencies in how it was recreating the image.
Correct. Like, so for example, if I was taking a shot from the left side and then panning it over, there was inconsistencies.
Yeah,
but that's not flicker is what you're saying.
That's not flicker.
Interesting.
And on top of that, we use something called IP adapters. So Animate Diff solved the video part, like giving consistency in terms of video. So before IP adapters, we use something called ControlNet. So what ControlNet is basically a neural network, which basically guides, for example, if you give your video, it breaks into frames and it guides the output in certain positions. For example, if you're doing this and it guides the output saying he's doing this, so try recreating something like this. But it doesn't take your characteristics of the images. For example, if you're wearing some certain costume and you're looking certain way, it doesn't change. It'll change the output. It's something else only. So for that, we use something called IP adapters. And IP adapters also came out recently. So what I was talking before, saying Corridor Q trained a Dreambooth model on like 36 gigs of RAM, we did not have to do that because we had because there was something called IP adapters which came out recently, which was a huge kind of breakthrough for us.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see like what happens in the next, again, 6 months.
Yeah,
Because
there's always something new coming out, even in this anime diff model.
Because ultimately it's just giving more, like it really but just boils down to just giving more data.
Yeah, throwing more data and getting better.
The model's just getting better
yeah,
and better and
yeah.
better and better. And I'm very, and that's what really excites me, because I was watching, and this is what I really love about content creation. मैं अभी क्या होने, and I keep on shouting this on my Instagram and Twitter, is like content has become the greatest enabler that exists. I'm very excited because अभी क्या हुआ, मैंने देखे कुछ Zomato drivers ने content बनाना शुरू कर दिया है. They're making content. And what they're making content is like, hey guys, आज है मेरा challenge. मैं अगले 90 दिनों में 90 days में मैं 1 लाख रुपए कमाना चाहता हूँ. And they're making these daily vlogs. Back then, 5 years ago, it was not possible. The infrastructure was not there. Editing videos on phone did not exist. Phone cameras were not that good. People did not consume content to the level that they do now. Vertical and short form content was not being promoted. It was all 30-minute, 40-minute, 2-hour long gameplays that used to exist just 5-6 years ago. I'm not even talking about fucking 10-15 years ago. Just 5 years ago, that was the game. All of a sudden now, the level, the content keeps on evolving in, is now these Zomato drivers, they're probably making a good amount of money. Like, I don't think they're making fucking crores, but still it's an incredible level of like the growth content is able to do. And now that these infrastructures are being available on a regular basis and are able to really challenge these things that used to cost 1 crore to make, to bring it down to not even by 50%, by like it's coming down to 1%. You can do the same thing to 1%. Like, what we really liked, what you really talked about, was in Corridor Crew, they were doing like 7 machines they were using. Incredible amount of compute power. We were able to do a lot on 3070 Ti.
Yeah, it was just one machine.
One machine we were able to do it.
Yeah.
And now you can also use cloud rendering.
For example, like you can use Google Colab. For people who don't know, Google provides like 16, I think somewhere around 12 to 16 GB, a Tesla GPU, so that you can run stuff on that. It's even available for free. The free ones are not that best. But if you pay like $10, how much? 700 rupees to experiment all this, like you can make an anime.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where the community goes.
If you don't have a good GPU.
Like, I'm not big tech guy. I don't know how exactly the tech behind works, but I'm really excited by the output.
Yeah, like even I'm not into like coding, etc. Like I was just with Varun, I was just playing around these models, etc. And I don't think no one even needs to know how to code, etc. It's just you experimenting, changing the parameters, seeing if this output works. Yeah. It's just playing around with these models and knowing what kind of output you want. Yeah, it's just playing around more.
Like one of the big things in the anime community is like, I can't wait for this particular manga or manhwa to, become into an anime adaptation. That is going to become 10x easier. Yeah. And now, for example, there's a very big manhwa that became super popular recently, was called Solo Leveling. It's super cool manga, very good art style. And the reason it was not able to really get that anime adaptation, even though it got a lot of love from the community, was because the art style was so good that converting into an anime would take forever. Now it's coming up with an anime adaptation. But my point is, like, imagine if you could just do it. You really like this manhwa. You really like this manga. You can just convert it into an anime and your style, and you can just play around with it however you want. Yeah. Like, your output will be different from my output. And the amount of content that we will be able to put out will be insane. Like, there's a very incredibly famous anime called Berserk. Manga called Berserk. It's one of the best mangas that have ever existed. And that's what it has been regarded as. Like, this is not me saying it. That's what people, like, of all time. It's called the GOAT, the greatest manga of all time. But it has never been able to be converted into an anime in a good manner. And because it's just whatever the reasons might be, like art style is too difficult. But with this kind of art style coming in forward, I'm just very excited for to see like bunch of guys coming into a group and converting into an anime itself. And now whatever
Yeah.
the stories that we want to tell to the world is becoming 10x easier. And like there's a quote, the most free form of storytelling, which is animation, because the world is your limit.
Yeah.
Right? Animation mein you can do anything you want. You want aliens, you want different kind of whatever you want can be done in animation, and much easier with quotation marks to do.
Yeah.
Right? It is the most amount of freedom it gives. Is the hardest industry to actually break through, and is the hardest form of creating content. Right? Animation is by far the hardest way to make whatever story, to tell stories. But with this technology now,
Yeah.
it's just gonna become 10x easier. So I'm just so excited by what story. There might be a guy who cannot draw but has the most beautiful story out there, and just thanks to these anime models.
especially for Indians, like the only reason I think anime got popularized in India was because India in itself did not have good anime stories, animation stories. I think that's one of the reasons why people started watching anime.
Yeah.
And now that we have,
Yeah, I'm so excited by, imagine like really good. I'm so excited by like seeing, I'm 100% sure this is gonna happen. Like if somebody's watching and wants to do it and wants to talk to us and collaborate on something, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
But like imagine a YouTube series about some, like, I don't know, some anime, Indian related anime. It's gonna be so cool.
yeah,
Like no more Chota Bheem. Enough of Chota Bheem, man. I don't want to watch Chota Bheem for the 1000th run. And I'm done with Doraemon. Like it's like there's such a huge gap in the market. And I'm just so goddamn excited by
I can
what's
only
about
think
to
of
happen.
Pogo Studios and what else was.
But Pogo Studios was not Indian, no?
There's no.
Pogo
which is
Studios was not Indian, no.
Oh. Then what is the most popular Indian animation studio?
Chota Bheem.
Chota Bheem was done
The
by.
the Golden.
Oh, it used to run on Pogo, no? But
No.
then where it.
I think it was a run on Pogo. I don't remember. But it was the animation studio is called Gold Studio. Yeah, Golden something.
Yeah.
They are hyper focused on creating children-related animations. But there's no animation for someone like us.
Yeah.
My worry is, I think only few people are gonna be able to make money. I don't think everybody is gonna. My worry is a lot of content creation is gonna become easier to make.
Yeah.
Like there will be a lot more content creation, which is something I'm all about, right? I really want to see what the community comes up with, but I think it's gonna become like the D2C market where there are only 1-2 winners, and everybody else is just struggling. Like I don't know, like if everybody is able to create content,
And
I don't know if
I mean, it depends on the individual. Like if his goal is solely to create a business out of making content, then it's a different case. If the guy just wants to
create content for the sake of it, which was what the original YouTube community used to be like.
Yeah,
We
back
were
in the
just
day.
all creating community content because we really like content,
yeah.
which is fun, which is
Yeah.
something I'm really all about. But I think that vibe, I don't know if that vibe will be able to come back because everybody's now all about the money, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, but I think it's kind of like because of this democratization of content, I'm not sure if everybody is gonna be able to make money. That is very scary to me. I think a lot of people are gonna lose a lot of money in the future. Like you won't be able, or it can also go the exact opposite where all of a sudden running ads. It depends. The problem is it's very difficult for you to monetize attention apart from the top few companies that have been able to figure out. Twitter, Google, Instagram, Facebook, these companies have been able to figure out how to actually monetize attention. Very few other companies have been able to figure out how to monetize attention on a larger scale. For example, on another revenue model is selling attention, selling data. But ultimately, again, it comes down to Google, Facebook, and all of these Microsoft and huge companies that are playing around, which ultimately, what do? They sell ads. That's what they're doing. My worry is if that model will be sustainable, if the amount of content we are pumping up increases by 10x. But
Yeah, I think it'll definitely increase with AI, 10x, 10-fold.
do you think so?
Yeah, if you go on TikTok now, like I was just trying to find some good AI content for Varun on TikTok, and if I was scrolling through TikTok to find some good AI content. It's just all AI avatars using AI ChatGPT script, making content and printing not good amount of money, but like probably $100, $550, etc. So due to this, there was so much influx of AI content on TikTok. Now TikTok introduced something called is this AI content or not? Whichever is like an AI content, it'll have a big red flag saying this is AI content, like whatever is AI produced.
Wow. Yeah, I believe.
Like even on Varun, we were using an AI avatar to make content with a fine-tuned chat, like a fine-tuned model of his voice and his avatar. Like imagine if tomorrow Instagram introduces saying this is AI content.
Do you think that's gonna deter people from consuming AI content?
I don't think so, because
I think
at the end of the day, people like on Varun's comments. At the end of the day, people did not care after a point.
correct.
In the beginning,
Because they have forgotten that.
yeah,
it's AI.
because they were only because already since Varun has already built a brand, so it was kind of his thoughts. They were here to consume, so
correct.
they did not care after a point.
Correct.
They
My
were-
worry is, if you're constantly reminded of the fact that this is AI content, I think, personally speaking, I think I won't watch it.
Yeah, probably in the short term, but in the long term, I think it'll be harder to detect what is AI content and what is not.
So now finally we will be reacting and breaking down how exactly we made this video. We gave a lot of thoughts and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. But now here goes. Here's our magnum opus. 6 weeks of my life. Pause kar? So all of this was Mid-Journey delayed.
Yeah, all of this was Mid-Journey. The first one was not Mid-Journey. The first one, I used a stock footage from Envato and I ran it through Comfy UI.
Interesting.
So people who don't know,
Wow, that's so cool.
so people who don't know, Comfy UI is basically an alternative to Stable Diffusion's Automatic 11 UI. It's just a different interface. And
Basically, it's a better version of converting into anime.
yeah,
Yeah, nice.
yeah. Then this was Mid-Journey.
Okay.
And I used stock footage. Like I used Cloud Alpha, and bunch of these birds you're seeing. They are just splines of birds flying. It's a stock. Basically, all these are stock footage layered over a Mid-Journey image in Premiere.
And then converted again to Comfy?
No. This was
Oh,
just
interesting.
a Mid-Journey image.
Interesting.
That's it.
Wow. This looks like, if somebody showed me, I'll buy this as an actual anime shot. Like if that the first
Yeah.
shot, the bird flying shot, if somebody showed that to me, I'll buy it as an actual anime
Yeah,
shot.
the inspiration for that came from I was watching Kimi no Nawa, Your Name. The inspiration was from that. So basically before something starts, they show like
Establishing
environment
shot.
shots. Yeah,
Interesting.
and they do it something like this. And this was also Mid-Journey. So that what you just saw was we used After Effects to add a parallax effect. So this entire thing, like even though people think this is mostly around AI, there was also a lot of editing.
Yeah, I think
editing
after,
which was involved. I think AI part was just 40% of it,
Yeah.
and rest 60% was mostly editing, thinking through
Yeah.
what image to put, what effect to add,
Yeah.
the sound design,
Yeah.
etc. And I wanted to bring this point across. At the end of the day, it's the editing, how you present something will be more important than just the AI part. The AI part is
like the base. It's just absolute
it's just
base
a
layer.
base.
You need to really, if you want to enhance it, you
you'll have-
need to understand editing to the absolute fullest.
Yeah. So the way that shot was done is we shot it on a table and then we ran it. Then we used Varun's footage and used and a Mid-Journey background to add a parallax effect. We separated the background into different frames
Right.
and added a parallax effect using a
3D camera in After
3D
Effects.
camera in After Effects. Yeah, and then we ran it through Comfy UI and then we got that output, beautiful output. Yeah, and then this was
Again, the same way. It's a Mid-Journey image from a...
yeah, it's not a Mid-Journey image. We shot this image. The background was Mid-Journey,
Okay.
and we added movement in a Runway ML.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Again, this is also
This is also
Runway ML.
Runway ML.
Wow.
And gladly, Runway ML that day in itself came out with an update when when I was doing this intro, where they improved their interpolation between frames, image to video interpolation, like 100x. Like
wow.
it was so good, and I think
Yeah, because the previous shots of Runway ML that I have seen were not that good. So when
Yeah.
you just told me it's Runway ML, I was like, interesting, because I thought you use basic 3D, but Runway ML was able to really come. And it's just one click now with Runway ML.
yeah, and
Wow.
and I think more and more editors will be using Runway ML as stock footage.
Yeah, I think stock footage is definitely going to be taken over by it.
Yeah.
I think the editing is the last moat now.
Yeah.
Scary, but it's very cool. Like I never thought being editor would become this cool all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But it's very cool.
I mean, imagine if you had all this when you were editing back.
Bro,
in the-
I would be like, I would be experimenting like crazy. Yeah, this is all Mid-Journey.
Yeah, and this is all Mid-Journey, and there was
Little bit of Photoshop.
Mid-Journey and DALL-E 3 and Photoshop Generative Fill to
Right.
separate all the backgrounds, and we used After Effects to add animations and some movement to it. And I could never imagine creating a composition like this back in the day when I started out editing.
Yeah.
Like
To the people who don't know, Sagar is part of Cohort Zero. Sagar did not know editing, but he was the first student that we sat and taught.
but I could never imagine creating something like this.
It got too good too quickly.
Yeah. Even this is DALL-E 3. This is DALL-E 3 too.
This is so good. This is so good. I love it.
So in that, if you observe, Priyal is young.
Yeah.
So the way we did it was using. So before that, I was struggling to
De-age him.
de-age Priyal. I was going through Face app and like
Snapchat filters.
Yeah, Snapchat filters and taking every frame of it and running it through, using my phone to run it through a Snapchat filter. Then later, I realized we used something called Roop to deepfake you into Salman Khan.
Correct.
So I thought, what if I could take Priyal's old image and ran it through Face app and make him young
Oh.
and run that young version through a deepfake software like Roop. And that's how I
Interesting.
figured out to make him young. So that was something interesting, that you can make anyone young, old this easily.
You've watched that movie of Will Smith where there are two young. So there's a movie of Will Smith where there's an old Will Smith fighting a young Will Smith. And when it was released, and it's just released, it was released I think 1 year ago. It was like a groundbreaking thing that they did. Like they figured it out and they made an entire movie around it essentially. Like they figured that out, and that was their whole marketing tactic, that we did this, and it was all over Will Smith's Instagram. But now it can be done to, not, let's say, not to that level of efficiency by a guy in a room with a computer.
Yeah, anyone could do that Roop thing, by the way.
That's so cool.
And if you see this, the camera is moving. So this is basically Unreal Engine's environment.
Right.
And if you observe, the camera is moving inside Unreal Engine according like
To the
complementing-
camera that we moved outside.
Yeah, complementing to the camera which we move outside.
Yeah.
Moved outside. The way we did that was using something called CamTrack AR.
Right.
I think this Varun.
Yeah, so we had a camera,
Yeah.
our main camera, where we were shooting the main footage
Yeah.
that we were going to convert into, an anime.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we added another camera from
We had an iPhone.
we added an iPhone that had LiDAR technology.
Yeah.
And then we installed an app called CamTrack
CamTrack
AR
AR.
that was able to capture the metadata.
Yeah, metadata
And then
of
you-
the movement of what you were doing in the real
Correct.
world, and then it was when you bring it into Unreal Engine, the data was translating it into what you're doing in the
Real
3D
world.
world.
So basically, it gives you a exactly synced digital camera.
Yeah,
And you can put it in
Yeah.
any background at all. You can put it into a fantasy land. You can
Yeah.
put it into a dojo. You can
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And it'll just capture the exact same movement that you
Yeah.
did in real world.
yeah.
Which is
so
very
So
interesting.
this breakdowns the possibility of you making any VFX film now. Like you can,
It gets you even further closer.
yeah. Like what you can do is, like, you can pick up anything,
Yeah.
any camera,
Yeah.
just an iPhone 14 maybe, and just use Camtrack AI
Yeah.
and translate that output into Unreal Engine.
Right.
And if you want to remove the background, there's something called Segment Anything now.
Correct. I think back in the day, green screen was put in like a lot
Yeah.
of effort. Like you need to have those dots
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I think thanks to just the way we have gotten so good at being able to differentiate between whatever the foreground and the background and smallest things, segment anything especially
it just separates everything.
so you don't even have to, you don't need a green screen.
Yeah, you just need a good lighting.
Yeah. I mean, it's better for you to have a green screen, but I think in 6 months you won't.
Yeah. Even now you won't, because there's something called GPT Vision. Yeah, so it's easier for Segment Anything was struggling because it did not recognize this was a human precisely. Even though it recognized it, it was still struggling. Or this was an object that needs to be removed. So GPT Vision now has the ability to recognize, oh, this is something which needs to be removed precisely.
So cool. So interesting. You know, back in the day, when I was creating videos in my room, I used to always be like, and I still believe that infrastructure does bring you, like if you have a really good camera, you're gonna be able to do
MKBHD
really cool.
is still differentiated because of its production.
Yeah, but I used to always think like, how can I, the reason I became such a good editor was because that was the only thing I had in control, because I didn't have enough money to get a camera, lighting, stuff like that. But now, thanks to the way technology is enabling creators, like it's just, I don't need a green screen. Even if I don't have 600, 700,000 rupees to spend.
Yeah.
Like, I can still create world-class videos.
True.
By having, my only worry is if companies start going really crazy with hoarding this technology. Like, I know for a fact that Apple will try to become the only company in the world to be able to do LiDAR.
Yeah, that is something which is scary. I mean, the moment these corporations start like
Hoarding
making this whatever the reason we were able to do all of this was because Animative was open source. Because people who worked on it, they made it open source, and we got to experiment on it.
Yeah.
So they, like, the moment companies start doing it, then it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I think we will be fucked.
Yeah.
Will be fucked. Like, my worry is a company comes with a really groundbreaking technology like LiDAR and just says, fuck it, it's gonna be costing $10,000. So the people who think that it's not gonna happen, there was a guy who bought like life-saving medicine, and he was like, he bought either company or patent of it, and he just said, fuck you, I'm not gonna decrease the prices. In fact, I'm gonna skyrocket the prices. And he increased, I think, by like some 1,000%, and it was insane. Like people were like, this was a life-saving drug that he just bought, and he was like, I'm not gonna make it cheap. And he got jailed later on. He got and he recently got re-released as well. But what is to say that a company will be able to find such a groundbreaking technology and be like, I'm not gonna enable creators. Fuck you. If you want to be able to do it, you can. It's only gonna be for the super elite, which is in my which if you observe history has happened all the time. Like first when editing came about, the actual process of editing, the machines, it was only available to the select few of studios.
Yeah, but
my worry, like I'm really rooting for the open source community here.
Yeah.
If open source community is still like, if they keep on going crazy with it, we are sorted. If they don't, I don't know.
That's why that is not kind of the case with AI, because the reason ChatGPT is so good now
is because data.
Yeah, it's because of data. And even, for example, when you fine tune a model, what you basically have to do is give it a prompt and a response. So what ChatGPT, since ChatGPT came out with this interface of a chat interface, now they don't have to worry about the data, because you are technically prompting it, and there's a response. So that's why they're training on that data.
Yeah.
So that's why even though OpenAI has kind of become closed source now, but still there will be open source community will be very tight knit in the AI space, because which data is something which is crucial.
Yeah,
and people experimenting on it is very crucial, because that's how you find breakthroughs. So this is possible. The only reason you knew making an anime is possible because Corridor Crew experimented on it.
Yeah, like the community, the community game still needs to be strong, and for you to be actually be able to make big breakthroughs, and if community is involved, the likelihood of people and technology being hoarded is very low.
Yeah.
But if it happens, we're fucked.
I don't think it will.
So one thing I really like that we were able to do, thanks to the new models that had come around, was the fact that we were able to do action. When Corridor 2 was doing, what I observed, that they had to shoot, like they couldn't shoot both the characters interacting on the same plane.
Yeah.
Because whatever the model that they were using were getting confused between both the characters.
Yeah.
So they had to shoot it separately so that they can mask it out in green screen, and they composite it in post.
Yeah.
But what we were able to do was we were able to actually interact two characters. You can see like in action. That's why they were not able to do action. Because it becomes increasingly difficult for you to actually, with the flicker and everything, and two people colliding, you don't know whose hand is what, and becomes very difficult for the model to differentiate. But in few months, model got so good that we were able to do actual action where two people were actually fighting in some sense. Obviously, it was not crazy level.
Yeah.
Like we are not doing taekwondo and everything, but it still looks really good. And I'm very excited to see what happens in the next 3 months more, where action becomes even more prominent.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like watch this. This is so cool. This is my favorite panel of the entire video.
Yeah. This is the best.
Like all of this was interaction, and the model was able to differentiate that I'm holding a scissor and my scissor is behind my thing. So this is how it should be looking. And it wasn't messing up hands and everything.
Yeah.
It was very good. Like this entire thing is one scene. It's not two different shots that we have taken. It's entire one scene in one green screen.
Yeah.
And we just fed it into Comfy UI and was able to give it, which was not possible just 4 months ago.
Yeah. And also one big learning was like Corridor Q, when it was trying to recreate an image through adding like noise, we like if you tone down the amount of noise you add, you kind of get an output of Ocus with all the facial features and everything better retained.
Interesting.
Yeah, and also.
But does it not decrease the amount of anime it looks?
Yeah, that's what we were struggling with.
Interesting.
And
so there needs to be like a balance of noise plus reality to be able to retain the features but still make it look anime.
Yeah, that's why we also trained your images, etc. using different lighting.
Acha, interesting. This is all editing. Like once you've just shot everything now, it's just about editing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this, the AI part is just 40% of it.
Yeah.
Even I think it's just 20% of the effort.
Yeah.
The AI part. Since you knew this works, it's all about storytelling.
Yeah.
How you present your editing, the effects.
Yeah.
You're adding all the lines.
Yeah.
The actions.
Yeah, the angles, the action. That.
It's all storytelling at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's cinematography.
Yeah.
It's storytelling. But I really like the way. One thing I also really enjoy that the Comfy UI was able to do just in 3 months was the fact that it was able to get lip movement very, very good.
Yeah.
But the problem is like lip movement doesn't exist in anime in itself.
What?
Like for example, in anime, the way they do it is they don't have such small nuances between lips. For example, the way I'm speaking right now, my lips are moving very, very like slightly. In anime, it will be moving like this.
Yeah.
Like there will be just
teeth.
Much.
It's plain. It's like plain.
But with here, the lips are very precise.
Yeah.
Which is also very interesting and where we can go about it. And that is why also voiceover becomes very difficult to be able to play. Like if your lips are so well made, like it's so well done, it's very difficult for you to be able to voiceover. But it's not impossible. In actual traditional movies, it happens all the time. Like most movies that you watch right now, the voiceover is done again on top of it. Like almost all movies. You watch Jawan, all the dialogues were retaken after they shot the movie. So it's very interesting like that. Yeah, so this is also so nice. And we were able to generate.
This is all mid-journey backgrounds.
Yeah, I think in anime, they are also like I think anime studios are gonna be using Midjourney so much now.
I think they're already using it.
Yeah,
maybe hiding it.
Yeah, 100%. That can
It's-
also
it's
be a
so
possibility.
easy.
So they're just gonna be using for background. So you just have to like the work is being cut down every month
Yeah.
to be able to produce. Like you don't have to sit and paint an entire background.
You can think of something better.
Yeah.
You can put more effort into the story.
Yeah.
More important parts of creation. And before that, if you saw the fight scene, even the fight scene, Varun, I think actually animated it in the 3D software, the
Yeah.
fight, and then translated it into.
Yeah. So he just animated it and he just told, hey, listen, the characters needs to be wearing this
yeah,
hair
then
with
he
this.
used then he used something called IP adapters, and then the output was translated into you and him fighting.
Which
Actually.
is so interesting. So you can
Yeah.
just make
And
two people
and
fight.
even those effects and all, it automatically Varun prompted it and it automatically generated those effects.
Which
The
is
VFX.
so cool. Like so tomorrow, I don't even need to have costume.
Yeah.
Right. This time I had to have costume.
Huh.
Tomorrow, for example, like the fight that Varun did, right? There was no costumes when he was actually did the 3D thing.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
So you and I can sit here
Yeah.
with wearing some different costumes, and when we put it into Comfy UI, we can just tell it or whatever IP adapters. We can just tell it, listen, I want it to be wearing like a golden armor,
Yeah.
and it'll be able to produce it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so cool. In the next 6 months, I'm very excited to what happens
Yeah.
and see what happens. And anybody who's creating AI in India, you want our help, you want us to do something with you, you want to figure out something even cooler, please do hit us up. I'm very excited to see where it goes. We can even create some really cool YouTube related anime videos.
Yeah.
Man, that's going to be so crazy. I'm so excited to be training this new editors that are going to be coming and creating one of the, I don't know, god level things. It's going to be so cool.
I think it's time like people, especially editors, start experimenting with AI tools, etc. Because
Yeah.
I think that's what sets apart like a normal editor.
Yeah. I think elite editors are going to be the winners. If you are
Yeah.
not somebody who's actually constantly focused on doing something like unique and creating new workflows, doing something cool, something that can actually bring value instead of just, that's the problem, right? Everybody just wants to be that when, for example, to the people who don't know, there used to be subtitle agencies. Now they can just, their job was eaten by two pieces of software, ChatGPT and Descript. But everybody just wants to be something like that, where I just want to figure out how I can do agency model or some stuff like that, where I can make Gary Vee style edits, I can make this kind of style edits, I can do this and just
No. I mean, people don't want to watch the same thing over. and over.
you can probably make money in the short term. I don't know if you'll be able to make money in the long term if you're not actually focused on honing your skills and like really focused on creating cool shit. But if you want to create cool shit, you want us to be connected, please do hit us up. Or you want to learn how to create cool shit, we do a video editing cohort. You guys can join that.
Yeah, we'll also be giving away the workflow.
Oh yeah,
and, like this was just a breakdown of it. We did not show like every click on how it works. Like we'll be giving away
the exact workflow. You'll be able to actually create it to the T, which is very exciting. So if you're very interested in figuring out all of this and how to really think about editing, psychology of editing and stuff like that, you can join the cohort. You don't have to, but you can. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.